My name is Savannah Ellis. I am 55 years old and live in a quiet suburb of Austin, Texas. I used to be a business director at a financial services company, but after many years of dedication to my work, I realized I had missed the chance to find personal happiness. That's why, when I turned 50, I decided to give myself a chance and signed up for a well-known online dating service. I have to admit, the first dates didn't give me much hope. I met all kinds of people, show-offs, men who only cared about looks, until I met Ethan Carter. Ethan is 3 years older than me and works in real estate. From the very first conversation on a video call, I was drawn in by his warm, deep voice and gentle smile. Ethan said he had gone through a failed marriage because his ex-wife was too focused on her career, and now he just wanted a simple, peaceful home. Our dates were gentle but warm. Ethan was always polite and thoughtful. I gradually believed that after all those lost years, I had finally found the man who would bring me happiness. After nearly a year of dating, we decided to celebrate with a weekend getaway at a lakeside resort at Lake Travis. That morning, I excitedly got ready, hoping deep down for a romantic proposal. When I saw Ethan's car pull up in front of my house, I stepped out with a bright smile. But the scene before me left me frozen. From the back seat of the SUV, an older woman stepped out. She was dressed garishly and her strong perfume hit me right in the face. Beside her was a girl about 9 or 10 years old clutching a handheld gaming device, not even bothering to look up at me. I looked at Ethan, my voice trembling. "Ethan, who is this?" He smiled as if nothing serious had happened. "Oh, this is my mom Charlotte and my daughter Chloe. I thought it'd be fun if the whole family went together." I stood there stunned, my heart skipping a beat. Family? Ethan had never mentioned a daughter, let alone talked about his mother. Charlotte looked me up and down, then smirked. "Oh, so you're Savannah? Ethan said you were simple, but I didn't think you'd be this plain. Everyone in our family has big eyes and sharp features. Looking at you? Interesting, really." Chloe didn't lift her eyes from her screen, mumbling. Ethan hurriedly said, "Come on, let's get going so we're not late. You don't mind, right?" I swallowed my words, telling myself not to make a scene. The whole drive to the resort, the atmosphere in the car was heavy. I sat stiffly, my mind filled with questions. A daughter? An elderly mother? How did I not know? Why did he hide this? When we arrived, Ethan divided up the rooms, he and I in one room, Charlotte and Chloe in the one next door. That night, in the resort room, I asked, directly, "Why did you hide this from me, Ethan? After a whole year together, why have I never heard you mention your daughter?" Ethan ran a hand through his hair, as if trying to dodge the question. "Thought I had mentioned it. You know, it's no big deal. My daughter lives with her mom, and my mom, she just wanted to tag along for fun. It's nothing major." I was speechless. Every word I wanted to say felt stuck. But the shock didn't stop there. At dinner at the resort's restaurant, under the soft glow of lights, the hotel staff suddenly brought out a large cake and a bouquet of bright red roses. Ethan stood up, raised a glass of wine, and smiled at me. "Savannah, will you be my wife?" The music played and all eyes turned toward me. I glanced around, then at Chloe devouring her slice of cake. Charlotte smiled contentedly, her eyes gleaming with calculation. In that moment, I knew I was being swept into a story I hadn't prepared for. But under all those expectant gazes, I didn't have the courage to say no. "Yes, I will." Applause filled the air, but all I felt inside was a cold emptiness. Our wedding took place just 2 months after the proposal. Charlotte's joy was written all over her face, while Chloe kept up her indifferent attitude. During the entire reception, she barely looked up from her gaming device. After the wedding, I moved into the house Ethan had bought during his first marriage. The house, in the northern suburbs of Austin, was spacious but cold, just like the relationships inside it. In the first days after moving in, I tried to create a warm atmosphere. I got up early to make breakfast, prepared dinner carefully, hoping to be welcomed by the family. But things quickly went beyond what I had imagined. Charlotte dropped her kind facade. She started giving orders. "Savannah, clean up the yard, it looks filthy. Oh, and make sure you wipe all those windows today. The dust is an eyesore." Surprised, I gently replied, "Charlotte, I have work at the office. Can I do it after work?" Her eyes flashed with annoyance. Work, Don't use that as an excuse. You married into this family, so act like a wife. Don't think just dressing up for work is enough. From that day on, I became responsible for everything no one else wanted to do. Mopping floors, gardening, laundry, even cleaning up after Chloe's cat. And Chloe? She treated me like I was invisible. Whenever I tried to talk to her, she'd snap. You're so annoying, old lady. Gradually, she openly called me old lady in front of everyone. One time when I cooked dinner, she made a face and pushed her plate away. Why is this so bland? Don't you know how to cook anything decent? What about Ethan? He was home less and less. Sudden business trips became more frequent. On weekends, instead of staying home, he said he was busy meeting clients. At first, I still texted to check in, but gradually my messages were met with cold replies or complete silence. The most heartbreaking part was that when Ethan was home, he didn't even bother to defend me. One time, Chloe snapped at me when I reminded her not to put her dirty shoes on the sofa. Don't you dare lecture my child. Just mind your own business. I looked at Ethan, hoping he would say something, but he just shrugged and mumbled. Don't be hard on her, she's just a kid. A little difficult at times. Difficult? Chloe was already 10, and her attitude only got worse each day. I still went to work regularly at the financial services company, but my energy was draining fast. Every evening when I got home, I was busy running between the kitchen and the living room, barely sitting down before hearing Charlotte call out, Savannah, come here and look at this faucet. Why does it keep leaking? Savannah, that back door is creaking. Go find some oil and fix it now. I began to wonder, is this my home or am I just the help? My paycheck didn't go very far either. Ethan cleverly shifted all the household expenses onto me, saying his job was unstable and he needed to keep funds available. At first, I believed him. I thought as husband and wife we should share the load. But then I realized, Ethan contributed nothing but empty promises. Every night as I looked around the house, I felt so out of place it was suffocating. Charlotte watched TV, Chloe clutched her gaming device, and I washed the dishes, asking myself, do they see me as part of the family? Or just a nameless stranger? One stormy night I was woken by loud knocking at the door. I jumped up and ran out. It was Chloe, scowling. What were you doing that you didn't wash my clothes? What am I supposed to wear to school tomorrow? I clenched my hands, fighting back the lump in my throat. I said nothing, quietly gathering the dirty laundry she had thrown all over her room. Night after night, I listened to the rain pattering on the porch, feeling empty inside. Ethan was no longer the man I once trusted. This house was no longer the home I dreamed of. I could only tell myself, be patient, maybe things will change. But deep down, I was starting to understand, the dream of a happy family was just an illusion. My life kept moving forward in silent exhaustion until one day something happened that I could never have expected. Charlotte suddenly fell seriously ill. She was diagnosed with late-stage cancer and was given only a few months to live. During her time in the hospital, I took care of her as best I could, though I felt nothing but the duty of a daughter-in-law. Ethan was still busy with his trips, and Chloe barely bothered to visit her grandmother. After 3 months of fighting, Charlotte passed away on a cold, rainy night in Austin. I handled the funeral arrangements even though I got no help from Ethan or Chloe. I thought that after everything, maybe I would finally have a bit of peace. But that peace lasted exactly 2 weeks. One evening, just as I returned home from working late, I found Ethan and Chloe sitting in the living room, looking tense. Before I could say anything, the front door opened. Chloe walked in, followed by a little boy about 3 years old, clutching a worn-out teddy bear. I froze, my heart pounding, as Chloe casually said, "This is my son, his name is Mason. From now on we're living here." I looked at Ethan, hoping for an explanation, but he just sighed and scratched his head awkwardly. I just found out myself. Chloe said she can't live alone with the kid, and since my mom's gone, he asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Where's the child's father?" Chloe shrugged and pulled Mason closer. "Who knows? I'm not even sure. Doesn't matter. We just need a place to stay." That's it. My heart felt like it dropped into a pit. So now I was to take on the responsibility of a child I'd never known existed, a child whose mother treated me like an enemy. The days that followed brought a new set of challenges. Chloe barely paid attention to Mason. She handed over all the childcare to me, from making bottles and changing diapers to soothing him when he cried in the middle of the night. At first, I told myself Mason is innocent. I can't abandon him. But Chloe turned my patience into bitterness. Every morning, just as I managed to set Mason down to get ready for work, Chloe would yawn and say, "Savannah, make me some coffee, and keep Mason quiet, I want to sleep in." Whenever I reminded Chloe to pay attention to her son, she snapped. "Who do you think you are to lecture me? Just some old lady mooching off her husband? Don't act high and mighty." Ethan? He had practically vanished from our lives. Using work as an excuse, he was hardly ever home. My calls only got empty promises in return. "I'll be home soon, please keep helping Chloe." As Mason got older, he grew more attached to me. When he started to babble, he called me Mama. The first time I heard it, I nearly cried, but that joy was quickly crushed. Chloe screamed at the top of her lungs when she heard it. "Shut up, she's not your mother, do you hear me? Savannah is just some old lady, nothing more." From then on, Chloe completely forbade me from getting close to Mason, but whenever he cried for me, she'd shove him at me, annoyed. "Make him stop, he's so annoying." I was exhausted physically and mentally. Work at the company was already stressful, and now every night I was up with Mason, then tried to hide my dark circles under a thin layer of makeup the next morning. Chloe never changed. Every chance she got, she insulted and belittled me in front of Mason. I lost count of how many times the boy heard his mother say, "Don't be like that useless old woman, Mason, don't grow up to be like her." Deep down, I didn't blame Mason. I felt sorry for him and for myself, trapped in this house. There were nights I sat alone by the window, staring at the distant streetlights, asking myself, is this how my life will always be? Is there a way out? I didn't have an answer, but somewhere inside a thought began to form. A thought that, for the first time in years, didn't fill me with fear. In the months that followed, I lived like a shadow in the house I paid the mortgage for. The older Mason got, the more attached he became to me, but his love became an excuse for Chloe's cruelty. Whenever Mason ran to hug my legs, Chloe would shout, "Mason, don't touch her!" His innocent eyes would look up at his mother, then at me, confused. My heart ached, but I no longer had the strength to argue. Ethan? He was like a stranger now. He claimed work kept him busy, with longer trips, rarely coming home. When I texted to check in, he'd reply coldly, "I'm very busy, don't bother me." And eventually, even those short replies stopped coming. Household expenses? When bills were due, I quietly paid them. Ethan said nothing, and I no longer bothered reminding him. I watched my bank account shrink, month by month, knowing I was supporting a family that didn't see me as one of them. What hurt most was Mason. At 6, he had started school, and already his mother had planted contempt for me in his heart. I heard words that should never come from a child. "Savannah, ugly old lady, don't touch my stuff. You're just the maid, I don't need you to care about me." I didn't respond. I just quietly picked up the toys Mason had thrown everywhere, wiped the marks he had scribbled on the walls. Then one day, I couldn't take it anymore. That night, when the house was silent, I sat in the study, opened my laptop, and plugged in the small recorder I had been secretly using all those months. I named the folder Buried Truth. Inside were clear audio clips, Chloe's curses, Mason mimicking his mother's insults. I listened to each recording, my heart heavy yet strangely relieved. At last I had proof that I hadn't imagined or exaggerated what I had endured. From that night on, I patiently kept recording. Every time Chloe yelled, every cruel word Mason repeated, I saved it all. Each night, I edited the files, organized them by date. By day I kept working, kept paying the mortgage, kept running the house. But inside, a quiet fire began to burn. I stopped waiting for Ethan to change. I stopped hoping Chloe would understand. I knew only one thing. I had to escape this hell, no matter what it took. The worse Mason behaved, the bolder he got. He knew his mother never corrected him, so he felt free to disrespect me. One afternoon when I asked Mason to pick up the papers he'd thrown on the floor, he hurled the stack at my face and screamed, "Useless old woman, you have no right to boss me around." I stayed motionless, watching the papers drift down around me like falling leaves. Looking at Mason, I no longer saw the child I had once cradled at night. I saw someone raised on hatred and contempt. That night, I opened a new file and named it The Day Mason Threw the Papers. His angry, defiant voice rang out as I saved it with the others. And Ethan? He hadn't contributed a dime to the household in nearly a year. When I brought it up over the phone, he said coldly, "I'm struggling, you handle it. You earn money, don't you?" I set the phone down and looked in the mirror. A weary woman stared back at me, her hair streaked with gray. But her eyes no longer looked defeated. I knew the time to act was drawing near. One chilly fall evening, as the cold wind swept through Austin's empty streets, I had just come home from a late shift when the phone rang. The call was from a police officer. "Mrs. Savannah Ellis, we're sorry to inform you that your husband, Mr. Ethan Carter, died in a car accident in the suburbs. We need you to come identify him and handle the necessary paperwork." I couldn't move. The silence around me swallowed every sound. Ethan was gone? The next morning I went to the hospital in shock, feeling hollow inside. When I saw Ethan's face one last time, I didn't know what I felt. Sadness? Anger? Or maybe just relief. The police handed me Ethan's bag of personal belongings. Inside, his phone was still intact. Something compelled me to open it right there in the car, and after just a few swipes, the brutal truth appeared before my eyes. Messages filled with sweet words sent to another woman, photos of them together at restaurants, hotels, plans for trips. One of the most recent messages made my hands tremble. "Tonight I'll be with you. Savannah doesn't suspect a thing. Finally, we can be together in peace." So the night Ethan died, he was on his way to see that woman, not on a work trip like he had lied to me. I sat silently in the car for a long time. Cold wind slipped through the cracked window, carrying the dampness of the rain that had just stopped. In that moment, I knew everything was over. I had no reason to endure this life for even one more second. The next day, when Chloe called to talk about the funeral arrangements, I kept my voice calm. "Do whatever you want. I'll come later. I have a few things to take care of." Chloe suspected nothing. She still thought I would once again break my back, handling everything like I always had. But not this time. That very morning, I called a moving service. All night I had packed my personal belongings, important documents, everything that was mine. It was all sent directly to the small apartment I had secretly rented 2 months earlier. A plan I had quietly prepared. When I realized Ethan and Chloe would never change, I withdrew all the money from our joint account, the money I had worked so hard to save over the years. I also contacted a lawyer and filed to waive any claim to Ethan's estate, because I knew all too well that he had left behind nothing but debt. When the funeral procession gathered at the funeral home, I watched from a distance, unseen. Chloe called non-stop, but I didn't pick up. She texted frantically, "Savannah, where are you? You have to be here to handle everything. Everyone's waiting." I stayed silent. The phone screen lit up and dimmed over and over. By the time the funeral began, I had completed the paperwork to transfer the house, which was in my name because I had paid the mortgage all those years, to a real estate agency. My new apartment was small but warm. When I stepped inside, I felt an incredible sense of relief. No more shouting, no more looks of disdain, just me and the peace I had longed for all these years. That evening, looking out the window of my new apartment, I saw the city lights sparkling. The phone rang again. It was Chloe. I answered, and her voice was filled with rage and panic. "Where did you go? Aren't you ashamed? Your husband is dead and you didn't even go to the funeral? You've disgraced the whole family." A faint smile formed, one that rose from deep within. "Chloe, I think you're old enough to handle things yourself. From now on, I have no obligations to you. Good luck." I hung up firmly, leaving Chloe's screaming voice on the other end of the line. That afternoon, while Ethan's funeral was taking place at a small church in South Austin, my phone kept ringing. Chloe's name flashed over and over. I sat in my new apartment, watching the soft glow of sunset through the window, feeling a peace I hadn't known in years. After dozens of ignored calls, I finally answered. Chloe screamed, "Where are you? Don't you know you've just humiliated the whole family? People are asking where you are. Where did you go at a time like this?" I kept my voice steady. "Chloe, I already told you. I'm not coming to the funeral, but if the family wants to know why, I'm ready to explain right now. Chloe scoffed over the phone. You think anyone wants to hear your excuses? Just stop it. I sighed gently. Put Robert or Karen on the phone. This isn't something you have the right to interfere in. After a moment, Robert's voice, Ethan's younger brother, came on. Savannah? Everyone here is wondering. I understand you're upset, but you can't just not show up. Please, explain. I grabbed my tablet and started a video call, letting my face appear clearly on the screen. Behind Robert, I could see Ethan's family and relatives sitting in a circle, their faces tense, all eyes on the screen. Chloe stood behind them, arms crossed, her gaze defiant. I began. Thank you all for taking the time to listen. I'm sure you all think I'm a terrible wife for not coming to say goodbye to Ethan. But before you judge, please hear me out. I held up the phone the police had given me the day Ethan died. This is Ethan's phone, and here are things you all need to know. I opened a message and showed it to the screen. This is the message Ethan sent to his lover right before he died. Tonight I'll be with you. Savannah doesn't suspect a thing. I miss you so much. The room fell silent. I continued. Ethan died on his way to meet her. That's why I couldn't put on a fake display of grief or attend the funeral to put on a show for everyone. There was a murmur through the room. Karen covered her mouth, her eyes wide. A relative whispered. I can't believe it. Chloe immediately jumped in, her voice shrill. So what? Every man makes mistakes sometimes. That doesn't give you the right to abandon the family at a time like this. You really are heartless. I looked straight at the screen. Chloe, be quiet, let everyone hear this first. I opened my laptop and played the recording I had saved all this time. Useless old woman, someone like you is only good for wiping people's feet. If you touch my stuff, I'll throw it all out on the street for you to pick up. Savannah isn't part of this family, she's just the help. Chloe's voice, Mason's voice, every word cut through the air like a blade. My husband's family was silent. Chloe's face turned pale as she stammered. You recorded us? That's so low. I kept my voice calm. I only protected myself. All these years, I've lived like a shadow. Insulted by my stepchild, betrayed by my husband, called useless by the boy I raised. Today, I don't need anyone's pity. I just want you all to understand. I walked away from this funeral because I have no reason to stand inside that family circle anymore. For a long moment, no one said a word. Then Robert spoke slowly. Savannah, I'm sorry. I had no idea it was like this. On behalf of Ethan and the family, I'm sorry, you don't need to come back. You've endured more than enough. Karen nodded, her voice choked. You did the right thing, Chloe. You should be ashamed of how you treated your stepmother. Chloe screamed, furious. You're all taking her side? This is ridiculous. But no one listened to her anymore. The disappointed faces all turned toward Chloe. I ended the video call, feeling a strange sense of relief. That night I knew I had finally broken free from the cycle of endurance that had trapped me for so many years. But deep in my heart, I knew there was still more to do to reclaim everything I deserved. After that video call, I thought Chloe would give up, but no. Just a few days later, she showed up at my new apartment with Mason, her face a mix of panic and anger. You think you can hide forever? Dad's gone. You have to take care of me and Mason. Are you just going to leave us out on the street? I looked at her, my eyes no longer soft. Chloe, I've made it clear. There's nothing tying us together anymore. You lost the last bit of respect I had for you a long time ago. Chloe screamed, tears streaming down her face. No way! How much money did Dad leave you? What about the house, the insurance? You can't keep it all for yourself. I let a frosty smile play at the corners of my mouth. Your dad left behind nothing but debt. And the insurance? That was my policy, my payments. I'm the beneficiary. It has nothing to do with you. The house? I've already sold it, and now I need you to leave. For a moment, Chloe seemed paralyzed, then nearly collapsed in the lobby. I turned away, unable to bear the sight, but knowing I couldn't save someone who never valued me. From then on, Chloe and Mason drifted, relying on relatives who wanted nothing to do with them. After what they'd seen at the funeral, she had to move into a shabby apartment on the outskirts, taking on all sorts of odd jobs. while Mason, shaken by the sudden change, became even more rebellious and disrespectful, even toward his own mother. Meanwhile, I began rebuilding my life. I sold the old house at a good price thanks to its location. The money, combined with the life insurance payout I rightfully received, gave me solid financial security. I didn't stop there. I worked with my lawyer to pursue a claim against Ethan's mistress, the woman he had trusted enough to betray me for. With the evidence from Ethan's phone, I demanded compensation for alienation of affection. At first she denied everything, but when my lawyer presented the messages and photos, she had no way out. The settlement wasn't life-changing, but it was enough for me to feel a small sense of justice. I moved into a lovely small apartment in downtown Austin, close to work and amenities. For the first time in years, I was free to do what I wanted. I signed up for a morning yoga class, joined a weekend book club, and most importantly, I could care for my aging parents without any more burdens. My career thrived like never before. Free from emotional weight, I accepted a senior management promotion I'd once turned down. My colleagues respected me, my team admired me, and I rediscovered who I was. A confident, strong Savannah, no longer a shadow in my own life. As for love, there were moments when I felt a pang seeing couples walking hand in hand. But I reminded myself, freedom and peace are worth more than any vow that had been broken. One afternoon, while sitting at a small cafe near the park, I happened to hear Mason shout at his mother, "Old lady, buy me that pastry, hurry up." I turned. Chloe looked haggard, her hair unkempt, dark circles under her eyes from sleepless nights. Our eyes met for a moment. She lowered her head and hurried Mason away. I no longer felt anger, only relief. You reap what you sow. And I knew my new path was just beginning, a path where I was the one in control. From a woman who had once been oppressed, insulted, and dismissed in the very house she paid for, I stepped out of those chains with my own strength and determination. Now, I live a free life, no longer burdened or enduring anyone. I focus on my career, care for my elderly parents, and treasure every moment of peace I've earned. I understand that happiness doesn't come from anyone else. It comes from the courage to free yourself from what you don't deserve. What do you think about Savannah's journey? Did she choose the right path to reclaim her freedom? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow the channel for more meaningful family stories.